my name is Jenna, and I'm here at YallFest 2016 with the lovely Maggie Stiefvater. And if you don't know who Maggie is, she wrote the Shiver series and also the Raven Boys and the Raven Cycle. So how did you get the idea for the Raven Boys?
I've actually been working on it since I was 19.
19, yeah.
I was reading a series called The Darkest Rising, which you haven't read. No one has read it. I understand it. It's fine. It was written in the 70s. It takes place in what was then contemporary Wales. And the thing that is best about it is that magic comes up through the sidewalk, and it felt like it could be magic in the real world in a real way. And so I thought, I'm going to write a series just like this. And so that was 5 books, and they were all clearly planned out. And I was like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make a plan.
Yeah.
The problem was I was really terrible. And so I wrote a really terrible book.
Yeah.
And that's where it came from.
Okay. And so you published Shiver and all of those books before the Raven Boys. Did you start working on that before the Raven Boys, or was it like you were working on the Raven Boys while you were writing Shiver?
I put down the Raven Boys because it was too complicated.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it right. And all of the characters were really me, even though it looked like there were lots of characters. It was like Scholar Maggie, Thug Maggie, Dead Maggie.
Yeah.
I mean, they were all actually just me.
Just variations on Maggie.
Yeah, so I put it down knowing that I'd come back to it, and I thought, I'm going to write the simplest plot ever, but done as best as I can.
Okay.
And so that was what Shiver was. It was
So
supposed to be a
that's
crying
why
book.
they're so different.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the Raven Boys is like very intricate
Yes.
and serious, and Shiver is one of those like post-Twilight kind of books that you can just like read and it's a simple plot, but it's great.
It was also my reaction to the Time Travelers.
Oh, yeah.
Are you a crier at books?
Sometimes, but not often.
I am never. I don't think I have tear ducts, except that I was reading The Time Traveler's Wife for the second time, which means I knew how it ended.
Yeah.
And I got to the end, and I started to cry, and I was so enraged over being betrayed by a book in this way. I thought, I'm going to do that. I'm going to write a book that ruins someone's face.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. We need books like that in the world.
So.
So you said that the Raven Boys are kind of different facets of you.
No longer. No longer. They used to be.
You changed them a little bit? Okay.
All the characters, Adam and Noah, used to be the same character. They're totally different now.
So then what was your favorite character to write in the Raven Cycle?
I really like writing the Lynch family.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Ronan the best, but I like their entire dynamic. We have a really kind of messy family dynamic in my family, and he's come from the same cultural background that I do, so it's just really satisfying to muck around in that world.
Yeah, so I have heard whispers that you're planning on potentially writing more in this world.
Were those whispers
with Ronan
in my voice?
They were.
Were they on Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's
how is
true.
that coming along?
I'm not telling you anything.
Anything.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing. So I wrote the Raven Cycle under increasing scrutiny. The first one, nobody knew what I was doing. Nobody cared. And so it came out super quietly. That was nice. Then people were watching for the second one, and then increasingly the anticipation builds. Right?
Yeah.
And so I just totally spit on you. Enjoy that DNA.
I will.
And so, by the time I got to the end, I kept on feeling like there were all these eyes watching me. And so now I get to write that first one, and nobody knows what it is anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's just for me, so I'm
Just for
keeping
you.
it in the dark for as long as possible.
So you're writing that one next, but do you have something else like an in-between type of thing?
I do.
Yeah? Is that
It's a secret YA
one?
but it has magic in it. It takes place in Colorado.
All right. So that's exciting. Going more to the writing side, what does writing look like for you? Like, are you a pantser? Do you outline a lot? Is it a mess of everything?
I used to only be able to finish novels if I knew what the end was. That's still true.
Still true?
Yes.
Yeah.
If I don't know the end, I never get to it. I just get in the car and start driving like a road trip that I don't know where I'm getting to. And so I don't have to have a really tight outline, but I need to know the major beats that I'm hitting.
Okay.
And then I like to be able to have room to roam. And sometimes when I think that I have a beat that I know is going to happen, a lot of times it's just the emotional tenor of the beat. So I have all the details wrong, but I need that moment that I'm heading towards.
Okay. So how did you go in writing the Raven Cycle? Because I know the Raven Boys has very like flowery, detailed, like magical realism writing, which I love. And I'm just curious how you built that writing style, I guess.
Oh, okay. So there's two things. When I sold the Raven Cycle, I sold it with detailed summaries of each of the books, so I knew where I was going.
Oh, yeah.
But also, when I wrote it, it's the first one that's published that's in third person.
Oh, yeah.
And so the narrator is my voice. And so the humor is my humor. And so I was nervous in a way that I had never been nervous before, because before, if people didn't think that Cole St. Clair was funny, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
They just didn't think Cole was funny.
Right.
It was in first person. It was his voice. This is now my voice. So if they didn't think it was funny, it's because it wasn't funny. And so I was nervous in a way that I hadn't been before, because now that's my storytelling voice.
Yeah.
It's the way I sound when I speak. So that's where it comes from.
That's so cool.
I'm eating my own hair again.
That's all we do. I had a question and then the question went away. So, what is your favorite part of writing?
My favorite part?
Yeah.
Because I know the beats that I'm headed to, there's almost always one where a character really makes a huge leap forward or something really changes for them, and I save it for as long as possible.
Yeah.
And then when I finally build up to it, it's really satisfying to write that scene and to have that feeling that you've actually earned that emotional payoff.
Yeah. And more on writing, do you like writing to music? Because I know music is a big part of you. I know you like wrote a couple things for your various books. What kind of music do you listen to while you're writing?
I thought I was going to be a soundtrack composer when I was in college.
Oh, cool.
And so I still really enjoy that now. The books give me an excuse to write a song every year. They always come and tap me for the audiobook, and I write a song for that. But with the books, I have to listen to music because otherwise I get distracted. And especially because it takes so long to write them now that I'll be writing over the period of a year, but I need to hit that one mood. So I'll build a playlist that has the mood of that.
Oh, that's
And that
cool.
way, every time I put the headphones on, I'm back in the mood of that again.
So what kind of songs are like examples of mood songs for like the Raven
I'm
Boys?
glad that you asked. If you go to www.maggiestiefvater.com, first of all, if you pronounce my name and spell it correctly, then you already get a pony, right? But it has the list of all the playlists for the book. So.
Cool. If you could describe it in just like one song, then what's the Raven Boys song?
Okay, but there's actually two.
Okay.
Because there's two sides of the Raven cycle, right? Like there's the magic, which is old and ancient and wild, but then there's the contemporary, which is them being like in the moment, being teens. And so Zoe Keating, I love her cello stuff, and so I would say Into the Woods, her album, is that wild magic. And then there was a song called The War Inside by Switchfoot that was the song that I listened to all the time before I started writing a single word on it. So if you put those two things together, you get the mood of the Raven cycle.
Cool. So speaking of the magic in the Raven cycle, how did you form that? Because it's a very weird magic, and I don't think I've read anything about like ley lines and anything like that. So how did you like stumble upon that, or is that something that you've been like dreaming about for a long time to like put into this series?
Okay, the ley lines came last. So originally I knew that I always wanted to have them dig up a sleeping king, and that's an ancient legend that almost every old civilization has, is this idea of one of their greats having not died but actually is sleeping, and if you wake them back up again, they'll give you fun prizes. I mean, it sounds like a terrible idea, but people think
it works.
A great idea forever. And so that has been around forever. And then the idea of Ronan bringing things from his dreams, that has been around forever. But then I looked down at this project that I started when I was 19, and I'm like, okay, but why are they looking for a Welsh king in Virginia? Like, how does that work? And so I started looking for existing magical systems that would explain why I had a Welsh king in Virginia. And so that's when I found the ley lines. And there was supposed to be a ley line that went right from Wales to Virginia. And that's when I started putting it in. But it was so strange to research that instead of mythology. Mythology is so old. You don't know when it starts, like Sleeping Kings. With ley lines, it was some dude in 1920 who's like, I think ley lines would be cool. Let's go out and douse water.
Totally.
And it's so obviously totally made up. And like all the books are written by people called like Rainbow Moonshine. And I stood outside and had a moment, and it was a very different experience researching that.
I bet.
I'm sorry if you're a serious ley line researcher.
I am not, but you never know. They may be watching this, watching all of us.
True.
So just one more thing. I know I'm doing NaNoWriMo. There are a lot of NaNoWriMers who may watch this. What are some of your tips for NaNoWriMo, for writing?
I am glad that you asked NaNoWriMo. Okay, so you should know, I used to hate NaNoWriMo.
Oh, yeah?
I used to write a Dear John letter to NaNoWriMo every single year.
Oh, my gosh.
And I would repost it, and I was like, you're a bad boyfriend! And I would say, you're a bad boyfriend for me, but not for other people. Like, I tried to write the Scorpio Races as a NaNoWriMo book, and it was a disaster. I needed to be able to take my time, and I couldn't construct it without a lot of work beforehand. And so then NaNoWriMo was like, could you write us a pep talk? And I'm like... And I realized I was being an asshole. I'm sorry, I swore on your channel.
It happens all the time.
Okay, so I realized I was being an asshole because the thing is that when I was a teen first starting out, I completely forgotten, being me now, what it was like when I had never finished a novel. And I also remember that I used to slam those novels down in a month. Like, there was something very appealing about sitting down and writing a novel. And it wasn't because I was trying to write the book of my heart in a month. It's because I was trying to learn how to finish it. And so I wrote this pep talk for NaNoWriMo, and I can't tell you any of the tips in it because it's in the pep talk, but it's coming up, I promise.
Okay, all right, I will keep my eye out
and
for
I no
that.
longer think it's a bad boyfriend. Like, we dated when I was young, obviously. I just blacked it out.
So what would be your tips then for like post NaNoWriMo, like editing and like crafting a story.
Okay, the
more than
biggest
just
thing-
finishing.
Know what you're making.
Okay.
So imagine that book that's sitting on the shelf, what you want it to look like, where it sits, what the genre is, what they're listening to when they're doing it. And as long as you know what you're trying to make, you can't make too wrong of a step, because you'll never choose a chapter that shouldn't be in that book, etc., etc. And so a lot of the problems with making a novel is that you have so many decisions in front of you, but if you've already decided what it's not, then it's much easier to be directed.
Right. That makes absolute sense. Well, thank you so much for talking with me. I look forward to hearing about all these future series.
Thank you.
And all these books. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye!